immigrant culture. Like they're like, you can't go past this. Stories are being passed on from generation to that's what we tell anybody that's new, like, I have this job, I can find you a job, it's customer service, it's always very easy to get in there. But then if you don't come with the mindset and be like, nah, I want to be a prime minister, that was my goal and that's what I'm working for. And guess what, if you're so fixated on that goal, you start to surround yourself and you forcibly surround yourself with people that can push you get there. And the first day that I minister, my pastor comes and he was just passing and he just holds me and then he prays over me and then he says like, God has said like you're meant to be here. I say, hey!
Do you think it was really God or you bamboozled?
Honestly, I would say that I probably was bamboozled, but with God, the thing about God is like, when you say everything works together for the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose, I know for a fact that like it was connected to his purpose over my life. For the parents, I'd say keep an open mind. Don't try to take the experience that you came with and force it here. Like you as well are learning as well. You're in a new place. The kids are learning. You should learn too. Learn the environment, learn what's going on. Don't think I've already lived my life. No, you're starting. Like you're never too old to start again and learn a new place. You're the one that carried yourself and came here. Also, you're not putting fear in your kids, you know. Teach them this, more so reaffirm who they are, as opposed to telling them like, oh, somebody's people are going to make you look down on you. No, let them be so confident to the point that they don't even see it. If you can be racist to me, that's fine. To the point, I was so confident to the point that I won an award for self-confidence. I was full of it, and it's because my parents had poured it into me. Hi, this is Chidera, and you're watching Sandy Bedu. Subscribe.
Chidera Ogori, she moved to Canada at a young age, and today we are going to explore what it means to move to a new country as a child, if you're a parent watching, if you're younger watching. And also she is in corporate Canada and she owns a beverage company as well. So we are going to explore that. So Chidera,
hello.
Welcome to the conversation. I know that you went to high school in Canada, but at what age did you move?
I actually went to high school, in Nigeria. So I finished high school, graduated, and then I came here for university. But I did like pre, I think they call it A-level in some places, or like pre-university, and that's what I did. And then I entered university there. So it wasn't like super young. I was like nearing the 6 of 17. When I came.
Okay. So what was the process like when your parents were moving? What brought about the move?
Initially we had wanted to move as a family, but that plan didn't really pan out. So what happened was we then just went for school. My older siblings were in the UK, and then my brother, the one before me, he came to Canada. And I remember the conversation my mom and I had. She asked me if I wanted to go to the US or Canada. I'd heard so many things about the US that I was very scared of in the US. I was like, let me do Canada. Besides, my brother is here as well. So that's how we kind of spread apart. My father wanted us to do university abroad. Outside Nigeria. That's why.
How was it for you? How did you feel when you were moving? Were you excited? Were you scared? Were you anxious?
I think you should be everything. Like, think about it. Like, you're going somewhere, you're excited, right? But you're also scared because you've never done this before. You're not with your parents anymore and everything. So it was a lot of mixed emotions, but I'll say it was mostly excitement. Honestly, for me, I think the biggest memory, I remember being not scared, but more like curious, like, okay, like what's going to happen, And the good thing that for me, in my case, worked for me was my mom came with me, and my mom didn't just call me, drop me and then leave. My father was really kind to allow her to stay we had like family friends, so she stayed for like a few months. And then when I was in school, when there's like a break, some weekends, she was in, let's say I was in Hamilton and she was in Toronto. So if you know the distance, it's probably like 45 minutes, an hour if you drive. So sometimes like I would use the bus and go meet her for the weekend. So it didn't really feel like I was completely alone. So that really helped. But for me personally, it was more curiosity. Like, okay, what does this new chapter hold? I think that's the biggest thing. I was just remember sleeping. I was not able to sleep at night. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is different. Because we had like it was like a boarding school. We had uniforms and then I had a roommate and stuff like that. The good thing, my roommate was Nigerian as well. because of our last names. I think they tell you, they kind of put into consideration where you're from, and then they put two of us together. And my roommate was really cool. She's a talkative though, but she was really, really good, and I liked it. She made me feel welcome. Honestly, it felt good. It felt like going to boarding school. You've never been to boarding school before. Yeah. That's how it felt for me. Yeah.
Okay. So when you arrived, you were curious and everything. Were there any initial, challenges when you arrived?
Oh my
Before
God.
you met your
my
roommate, because I'm
roommates,
sure it made life a bit easier.
Yeah. You're taking me back. Like, I guess for me, it was the good things was not the cold. I can't say the cold because I came in August. So August was like, early August is still hot. So it still felt like summer for most of the time, for the most part. But I think for me, it's kind of like, okay, figuring out how to work the system, the bus, like taking the bus, going out. Just, it's a new whole system that Nigeria doesn't have, right? And again, now I would say for the most part, to a degree, I was sheltered when I was in Nigeria. My mom barely wanted me to leave the house. So coming to this place now where you have to figure out how to go get groceries yourself or go to the mall yourself, it was very exciting. Like, that part was really exciting when they tell you, okay, these are the places you can go to hang out. And the food, oh my gosh, yeah, you just reminded me, the food was good. It was different. It was like English breakfast sausage. I was like, what's this?
So you guys were fed in school like the regular body?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we had a cafeteria, and we had one in the dorm. We had one in the school. So learning the food was like a buffet style. Honestly, that was the best part, man. Now, don't even take me back. Imagine coming from this place where like you would cook and then your mom would say like, oh, don't take extra meat from the pot. And then
I just want to have teenage kids.
Exactly. Like, don't take it. Like, but who ate my meat? Kind of thing. But then you have this, like, you can go back for seconds. You can go back for thirds. I was in heaven. That was a good part of the culture shock. It was very different. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I'm not really big on, I feel like I'm very adapting to situations. So it's not like a thing where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm crying. I don't know what to do. I'll figure it out. Like, I'll ask questions. I'm very big on asking questions. So it wasn't a thing where I was very scared. Maybe just the personality thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Like, do you think personality determines how well you can adapt?
Yes, and also exposure as well. That was not my first time traveling out of the country. We had traveled a few times. I'd been to the UK, been to the US at that point as well. So I was kind of used to talking to people. I was not seeing like, oh, white people touch your skin. Like, oh, it's like, this is new. So I wasn't as phased, I would say. And again, that's a privilege, right? I don't take for granted. But in general, also personality, I'm just not, if I'm in a fix, I'll find a way out of it, basically.
You mentioned another point, exposure. Do you think exposure will also make a difference how well kids are able to, adjust, as opposed to if they've not, experienced that kind of world and they're suddenly thrown into it? It'll be
100%.
much more difficult for them.
100%. And exposure, I want to add this, exposure might not just be, you have to go there in person. The movies you watch, of course, if you can understand what they're saying, that's half the battle won, right? Like, if you go somewhere, especially coming from Nigeria or Africa in general, where we speak very fast, I would speak like, even I won't lie, that was one thing that I loved, because we used to sit with it felt like a nationality thing. Nigerians would sit with Nigerians, and then I met people from Burkina Faso, of course the Ghanaians as well, everybody, and then you hear we thought we were loud, Nigerians were loud. Burkina Faso people can argue for days, and in French they're like, oh, I'm just like,
what's going on here?
This is so cool. Exposure for sure to the media, what you watch, what you read. Again, if you can really just immerse yourself into the culture before you get there, I think that will most likely help you in more ways than you think. Yeah.
So you feel that for maybe parents whose kids may not have the opportunities that you had, what are some of the things you think they can do? You've just mentioned a few.
Yeah.
To prepare their kids once they decide to move here, or even if they are sending their kids here by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, allow them to learn more about the culture. Read. I used to, any opportunity I had to read books on like just what the Canadian culture was like and what they like to do, learn about like poutine and all these things. Just again, we're in this time where like social media is so rampant. In my days, I'm not gonna say it's like not like I was like, it was early days where there was no internet, but it wasn't as accessible. Then I had to go to the I don't know if they have that anymore, but it's called a cyber cafe. I don't know if you guys have that.
We had that.
Yeah, you have to pay for internet. Yeah, so that's the only way you have access to really go online. Exactly. So like things like that, I would go, just any opportunity I had access to internet, I would search like, oh, what's Canada like? The place that I'm going to, what's Hamilton like? So parents can do that. Encourage your kids to watch movies. Encourage your kids to ask questions. So things like that for sure.
Because I remember when we were coming. I mean, my kids are not teenagers, they are almost teenagers, but even at that young age, we told them to do a presentation on Canada. So the difference between Ghana and Canada, because it was something we used to do with them, for school, their school topics. We just said, okay, do a presentation on Canada. Okay, the culture, the flag, the different provinces. Yes. I'm sure now they may not remember the details because even now they know much more, but it kind of prepared them for where they were coming.
Exactly, mentally. And also excitement. They will create that excitement. Like, that's cool. I like that. I definitely like that. I think
that's a good point. Was there any time that you struggled to fit in, forming your community? How difficult was it for you? Did you have any fears? Was it easy for you? What made it very easy for you,
For me, I think the way that I had access kind of made it easier for me because, like I said, right, my roommate was Nigerian. Most of the people that I hung out with were Nigerian as well. So it's not like it was just Nigerian. I met Ghanaian people. So it was mostly like Africans, but then of course I met a few. I even had a lot of Chinese friends. Like it was like you kind of start with your circle and then grow out and just learn more. Join a lot of extracurricular activities. I was in the choir in school. So I think maybe for me, what helped me was I went to an international school. So maybe this is for the parents. Like if you're not feeling comfortable sending your child straight to university first, maybe send them to an international school. Honestly, I'm going to talk about the name of the school that I went to was Columbia International College. Shout out to them. It was a good school. I don't know how it is now, but many of the friends that I made then, we're still in somewhat of contact with each other. I've seen them doing great and wonderful things in the world where they are. And I'm very inspired and I'm happy because it kind of allowed us to form communities. We learned more together. If we're going out, we're doing Afro festivals, we'll go together, we'll go to the mall together. So we explore together. It kind of allowed us to form friendships and groups. So for sure, community school, international schools, 100% I would recommend. But of course, not many people have the money to do that and then still pay for universities. Honestly, I would say it did help. In my own case, it helped. If it was the other way around, now the world is a global village, man. A lot of people know more about Africa than we think. Africa is not this tiny village anymore.
And we are sitting on trees.
Exactly, and riding elephants, More people are choosing to break the barrier of ignorance. So a lot of people have oh, you're Nigerian, oh, you're so cool, Igbos dance and Afrobeat. Yeah. All these things are helpful, right? And I don't think most of the times, in the earlier times, those were the options, but now it's different. So I think, to be honest, the kids that are coming nowadays have it better because there's already some form of understanding. There's more Nigerian athletes and African athletes in general that just people have more interest in what's going on in Africa. So it's easy to kind of blend and just come in and form friends. And you don't have to be friends with Africans. I'm not saying that, you have to be cliquey and go look for the person that looks like you, look for your skin color, just be friendly. And the truth is, what they say is true. I think the more you live in Canada, when you travel out, that's when you realize that more that Canada people, Canadians are friendly. They're not, by the time you travel to the US, I see, there's difference in the way Canadians are. I'm not gonna lie, they're very friendly. Most of the time, oh, how are you doing? Hey, sometimes we'll just crack up a conversation with you out of the blue. Right? So you just have to be open to that, be friendly, and I think people will survive. It's not that hard, to be honest.
What are some of the ways you think that emotionally parents can be there for their kids because they are moving them from a different place to a new place? Because you said your mom was here.
My mom was here.
So let's say for us who've moved with our kids, what are some of the struggles that you think that kids who have relocated
by themselves
or even with us?
That's a good
point. Be aware of some of the things maybe you experience.
That's true.
are parallel to what kids who even moved with their
That
parents.
makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Because I mean, I came as a kid, so I can give the perspective of a kid.
Yeah.
I think for more so, just loneliness for sure will be one of the things that probably they'll struggle with, and fitting in, like feeling like you're belonging somewhere. Because again, now you're not the majority anymore; you're the minority, right? So I think that's one of the things I probably struggled with, trying to relate to other people's culture and learning. I would say number one, for the parents, and this is for the parents, and I'll speak to the kids. For the parents, I'd say keep an open mind. Don't try to take the experience that you came with and force it here. Like, you as well are learning as well. You're in a new place. The kids are learning. You should learn too. Learn the environment, learn what's going on. Many people have communities here that go for marathons and walks and things like that keep them active. Don't feel like, okay, it's just this is for the kids. I'm too old for this. No, like, experience it with your children. If your children have something to do, go with them. If you find something that you can do with the kids, take them. So I think it's more so for everyone, even not just for you. And that's what I'll tell a parent. Don't think I've already lived my life. No, you're starting. Like, you're never too old to start again and learn a new place. You're the one that carried yourself and came here. You might as well. Like, you left what you know. When they'll call you, daddy sir, they'll lay down flat for you out of respect. Yeah, they'll call you by your name. It's unfortunate, but it's a new life, right? You kind of have to adapt. And the truth is, in doing that, this will then allow your kids, I feel they'll feel that safety. Like, oh, if daddy and mommy are doing it, I can do it as well, you know? And ask your kids, how's your day? You know? I feel with Africans, and I think this was maybe our parents and their grandparents' time. Now we are breaking generational. Yes, exactly. This whole thing of like not really wanting to be intimate with your kids and just asking them how they are, you know, like saying I love you, giving them hugs, being affectionate, because the truth is, here in this Canada, it's a different way of life. Culture, even respect, it's not really as drilled as it was drilled to us when we were in Nigeria, where you have to greet with two hands, and something like the left hand, like, oh, you can't give someone something with your left hand, right? Like, it's so simple to us, but then these people, they don't know it, right? So then you have people calling their mothers by like, okay, the Sarah, and you're like, Jesus. So you have to be, as much as you want to kind of, I guess, create an environment, you also have to find balance. Like, don't forget where you're from. As much as, yes, I want you to be this new, don't forget respect, teach your values to your kids. You know, the Bible says charity begins at home. You have to really, really drill into your kids so that when they go out, they can be influencers as opposed to being influenced. Yeah. So I think that's for sure for parents. Now for the kids, if you have something to talk about, talk to your parents. You know, don't try to mask it. The good thing about it is, because my mom eventually left and then I was alone, right? And I mean, there were moments where it was really bad, especially when I was not doing great in school as much as I would love to have done. And the thing is, like, this is I'll kind of go spiritual, but it felt like my mom was really, God used my mom in so many ways, because many times when I'm feeling off, my mom would call me. Like, it felt like she could, like, that, yeah, telepathic, yeah. Like, my mom would call me and she'd just be like, talk to me, and I'll start crying, because just hearing her voice, I'm like, okay, things are better now. My mom's here, you know, that kind of thing. So I think more than anything, just staying grounded as a kid. The Bible says, train up your kids in the way they should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. All the times that we had fellowship together as a family, those carried me. Being able to read my Bible by myself, knowing the scriptures to go to when I'm feeling a bit down, you know, listening to worship music. Those are the things that carried me. I'm not going to lie. Like, so it was really a thing where I started learning how to fellowship with God personally on my own. And that's how I grew. So as a kid, don't feel like, okay, you're still a child. Maybe start. And this is like, I know it's not everyone that's Christian, but hold on to your faith, you know, hold on to what your parents taught you to believe in. Yeah. Personally, for me, I would recommend, of course, like the whole Bible reading, because that's what helped me. But, you know, prayer, knowing, sometimes even in my, in the dorm, people would be like, oh, are you the one that's always singing? Like, I'd be worshiping in my room and I didn't even know they could hear me. They'd be like, oh, you're the one that's always singing. I always hear your voice when I pass your room. And that's the thing. Those are the things that carried me. And it's because my mom my parents rather trained us in that light, and it kind of stuck with us as we grew older, and stuck with me personally as well. So
I think for parents, it also tells us that we need to be kinder to our kids, because as much as we know that they're in a new environment, they'll go through changes and everything, they are not able to articulate as much as we do, and so it might show up in certain behaviors. That's and true. All that, even if they don't speak out, and some children might keep it within the quieter, so what I picked from is that we also need to be kinder.
That's true. Create room, create room and an atmosphere where your children can come to talk about to you,
what they are going through, and all that, and whether they are being able to form friendships or what they are struggling with. Do they feel left out? Do they feel like they have to overcompensate? Because sometimes we feel that because I'm the only black person here, I need to overcompensate. Some circumstances call for it, because sometimes you want to be seen, right?
That's
so
true.
You may end up, and then becomes a character trait. Like you end up always overcompensating, right?
Maybe let's talk about that a bit. Like overcompensating, what does that look like?
If my child feels that like he needs to be something else other than who he is, maybe he's naturally quiet, but he feels that where there are more people who are not like him, maybe they are more white, he feels that he needs to force to be loud. There's a place to be assertive,
I guess,
so that you are not in the background. But when it makes you feel like I'm not really being myself,
he has to be the class clown, so people can. Oh my God, I relate to that.
Can accept So we need to really be looking out for if there are any changes in our kids. Okay, are they really growing into this personality, or they are taking on a character so this is not
who you are? I think you're 100%, you're right. I guess maybe that's an added thing to the parent. Really, really keep your eyes down. My mom always says it's ayanala, like it's an Igbo boy. She says like you have to be watchful. You're the one that is guarding your home, right? Know when something is off with your kids. Like it's all about being very sensitive to be like, okay, this is not what my son would normally do.
Because some people can even be violent.
Exactly, and maybe they're getting it from, because now there's a different mix of people that they're dealing with. So it's not just, don't talk to that boy because these parents are this. Now this is different beliefs, different ways that people are being trained in the house. So you now come and be like, you tell your mom good morning. Ew, I don't do that. Like
then he also,
and then you now come and be like, you have to reset the brain. Violence is never the answer, but of course at that point, and that's why it kind of goes back to what I said, where like you have to, it's balance. As much as you want to be there for your kids, like okay, allow them explore, learn, but you have to don't forget where you're from.
Their experiences are different for ours, because for example, even if as an adult you've traveled before, you grew up solely in one place. You may have grown up solely in one place. Now you are here. Your child is going through an experience that you don't have experience with.
True.
They are trying to balance what I'm taught at home to be very African. But then when I go to school also, I'm learning to be Canadian. Now how do I balance the two? So again, it comes back to kindness, being kind in that process. Working with them. That okay, when you come home, you're speaking to your parents, you say, please, Ghanaians and please, thank you. You don't call adults by their first name.
Oh, never.
When you go to school, this is how it is like. So how do they now work that out in their head? So you need to be kind.
That's good. You have to, that's true. That's true. I think 100% I understand what you're saying. Just again, let them be influencers as opposed to being influenced. That's the word. Like, be the light. Don't let darkness swallow you. You have to, 100% you're right. I agree with what you're saying.
So how were you able, now talking about, how were you able to keep a balance, personal experience that we've spoken about parents should do now? What did you do? Like balancing that I'm Nigerian, but I'm also building a life here. How were you able to balance that too? At that young age, growing up, I know at the end of the interview, we'll still come back to that topic, but even as a young child, how was the process like for you?
Honestly, maybe I'm just different. I used to be, till today, like my mom myself always says it, like I'm a goody two shoes. Give me instructions
and I'll follow.
Like when mommy said we should not touch it, like that's how literally that's how I used to be, and that's how I am. So I'm very, if my parents, because when we used to travel, my dad and my mom, they used to do this thing called a send forth, where my dad gave each and every one of us books, and they were not all the same. They were different. The crazy thing is, like, after he passed, we were talking about it one day when we were together, and we were talking about how at the time he knew what books that we needed. So that's why the books were different. So I would say more than anything, I'm very grateful to my parents for the upbringing because
you're very intentional.
Yeah, very, very intentional in the way where we were flogged. Because if you go astray, it will bring you back. My mother's favorite verse. Man, the rod spoiled the child. So it was really a thing like they were there. They were trying to ensure that we were trained right. And to be honest, that's why I say maybe it's specific to me. My upbringing played a lot in how I was able to balance that, because I always hear the voice of my mom in the back and always hear my father's like lessons in my head. So it's like wherever you go, remember who you are. Like it's kind of like it's a pride thing. Like I'm not going to embarrass my parents by doing something stupid when they announce that, oh, this person has been, God forbid, deported, and then my name is in it. God forbid. Like it's like you think of this like shame. Like, so thinking and stuff like that, and also just out of love as well and respect. I didn't want to soil the family name. So that really helped me to stay on the narrow, straight and narrow. Like I stayed there. And also again, the fact that I was good into shoes.
Yeah.
I'm very much, yes. And I'm also not rebellious. I try not to be. I mean, I've had my moments where I'm just like, screw it. Like, YOLO, but like I really tried as much as possible to keep to, I guess the instructions that I was given. For me, if I want to then, I guess, paint a perspective for someone else who is not like me personally, the things that I know outside what I was trained to do that helped me, of course, like I mentioned earlier, just staying in the Word of God, going to church, always see it. Don't leave your time empty because the devil will fill it. Always try to be busy, and extracurricular curricular activities help as well. I used to be part of we formed this Nigerian ping pong team where like literally if I was not upstairs studying, I was downstairs in the basement because the gym was in the basement. I'll go to the basement with my friends and they would play ping pong, would gym. I used to be in archery. So I was busy. So it wasn't just a thing of like I'm sitting down doing nothing and all of a sudden that's when the devil comes to whisper sweet nonsense in your ears, So just fill your days with activities. One, you get to make friends. That's how you make friends faster. And two, you're busy, you're living an active lifestyle, and you're now learning to interact more and adapt more to the society that you're in. Because again, even when I was going to the gym, it started as a joke. The whole Nigerian people started as a joke. Like, oh, I was so good. The thing about me, I'm a very big smack talker. Like I'm horrible at games. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not that great. But I call me the hype man of Africa. I'll hype myself to the point. So we talked a lot, and then eventually they actually, because of that, they created a tournament for ping pong.
Wow.
And of course I was out the first round, but like it was still fun. Like the fact that we were even in the tournament in the first place and we played against Chinese people that were like from there all the way, they're right here, this is where the board is, they're playing from here. I'm just like, I don't know how I found myself here, but so yes, I would say more than anything, that's one thing aside from everything else. Just I kept myself busy.
Yeah.
Don't leave room for the devil to give you work.
Did you experience any form of discrimination?
Oh,
I mean, we'll talk about even now growing up, how the environment's like. But at that stage, what's one of the things that you struggle? Because I know a lot of parents coming in, one of the big things, how their children going to deal with the discrimination, all that.
That's a good question.
Because I mean, for most of us, we chose Canada, not our neighbors.
Yes, our neighbors for a reason. Really, our neighbors.
So I want to know whether you had any shocks like that and how you dealt with it.
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, I've had more experience in my adult life compared to when I was younger. I would say even if I didn't notice it. And I think it's because, again, that pride. I mean, I could care less whether you think I'm less than you. That's your opinion.
Did your parents prepare you ahead for that? Did you have that conversation?
The funny thing is we didn't, but I think we low-key did. And I'll explain. The reason why is because my dad always hammered it into our heads. He would give us principles. Even before I entered higher secondary school, So we grew up on my dad basically telling us the summary is know who you are. Mm-hmm. You are a child of Emmanuel Ifeanyi Ogweri. Like, you don't fall her heart. You know, wherever an Ogweri goes, we carry ourselves with pride. And I think that was how he taught us. It wasn't necessarily a thing of, I don't think he even thought it was a thing, because racism wasn't something that we had experienced honestly, I was very ignorant on how bad it was. Because of course, I grew up in a place where I was the majority. Like I grew up in a homogeneous society. And then I'm coming here. It wasn't a thing. And I think that helped because it didn't put any fears in me where if somebody's doing something, I'm not automatically thinking, is this racist or not? And they just do it. I'm just like, okay, this person is weird. Okay. I'll just see you're a bad person. And it's not because of me.
Skin color.
Yes, it's not because of skin color. It's just because you're just a rude person in general. So I didn't really see it that way. I think that helped me. Because then, even if somebody's trying to be nice, you're also not also painting their actions in a bad way. Because some people don't know you, right? Some people get awkward. They don't know your culture. Maybe to you it's disrespectful, but to them it's not. I think it allowed me to come in with an open mind. So maybe that's why I didn't really reason. Maybe some people did things to them. They were trying to be like sneaky, like, haha, I was being racist to you. In my mind, I'm just there like, okay, bye. You're just a bad person. Like, I didn't really know. I think that helped. Not being, also, you're not putting fear in your kids, you know? Teach them this more so reaffirm who they are. As opposed to telling them like, oh, people are going to make you look down on you. No, let them be so confident to the point that they don't even see it. If you can be racist to me, that's fine. To the point, I was so confident to the point that I won an award for self-confidence. This babe has self-confidence. I have the award somewhere in my box. Like, it was a thing where I was full of it. And it's because my parents had poured it into me. So I carried that with me. So more than anything, I would say, just really, for me, it didn't really faze me as a kid. I didn't experience it. I probably had people who did it, but on the other end, there was a wall. Like I didn't see that it was being done. Yeah, exactly. I didn't see that it was being done. Yeah, yeah, I would say that. Yeah,
that's so good.
It is.
So
yeah.
Good. So walk us through high school. You did like a year.
Yes.
And then walk us through till uni. How your journey was like.
Yeah.
What did you do? You know.
Okay. So I finished school. I finished the high school, the A levels, and then I got into University of Windsor, Ontario. And so I went there for school first year, doing excellently well by God's grace. I was on the dean's list. Like I was ready. I was on the path to, next semester, this was my second year. I was going to be a mentor. I'd applied to be a mentor. And again, extracurricular activities. I don't really like being idle. Yeah. So there's always stuff to do. It was like, okay, what can we do? Even when I was in high school, I was part of the service prefects, which is kind of like a leadership team. We went on trips for leadership retreats and things like that. So, I was going to be a mentor, and then I traveled to Manitoba, Winnipeg, to see my brother, because that's where he was. So it's not like I was alone in Canada, but I was alone in Ontario. And my brother was in Manitoba. So I went to see him for the summer. And then in the course of seeing him, I would say God bamboozled me. I was hoodwinked because I started because I sing, right? Do music. And then my brother was like, oh, join the choir. And I had recorded myself singing, and my brother played it to the music director. He's like,
something.
Hey, don't worry, after. I was singing something after. So he had shown it to the music director, and the music director is like, oh, you should join the choir. I'm like, you know what? Because even when I was in Ontario, I didn't want to join any choir. I was running away from it. And then he says, you know what, just join. You can do it for the summer, and then you're going back either ways, right? And then being there, I'm joining the choir, I'm singing, and God was so faithful. Things were amazing. People were following the anointing. It was wonderful. And my pastor's wife at the time, she had mentioned it like, oh, you should think about moving here. Because like in Manitoba, it's easier to get your PR if you're with your family, if you have family there.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about it. I was just like, this is me. I'm about to be a mentor. I'm doing really well, like in school, in where I am. I'm on the track, right? And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, God. I'm like, okay, you know what, Lord, if this is your will, confirm it to me. And the first day that I minister, my pastor comes and he was just passing, and he just holds me. And then he prays over me. And then he says, like, God has said, like, you're meant to be here. I said, hey, Chivo. That's great. Oh, my plans. Let me even explain how deep it was. I had already gotten a house for my friends and I. If there was a de facto leader, I guess, of a group, because I had friends, all of us were friends, and this was not just like Nigerians, different countries, all of us were a group of friends. And I was like, we should live together, let's get a house, let's live outside of campus next year. So we found the place. I was the one that even dealt mostly with the guy. We signed the contract. It was like a 5-bedroom house. I was already, okay, this is my room. I was excited. And then I just go and tell these people that, like, guys, by the way, bye.
I'm leaving.
Like, it was so heartbreaking. I'm like, God, I don't want this. And the funny thing is, I even had a friend who wanted to move because he wanted to do architecture and he couldn't get into it in the school. I told him, I convinced him to stay. I was like, you, bro, stay with my own family. And then I leave.
My goodness.
I was so hard. I was like, how do I tell them? Like, those were my major, like, problems. And then eventually I spoke to my parents because they're the ones paying my tuition, right? Like, they're the ones I need to speak to more. And my mom is like, okay, so what exactly is your plan? Like, you walk me through this plan. And then she's like, are you sure? I'm like, you know what, mommy, this is what it is. Like, this is what I feel. This is what God is saying, that kind of thing. And to be honest, the funny thing is, if you ask me now if I regret it, I actually low-key do.
Do you think it was really God or you bamboozled?
Honestly, I would say that I probably was bamboozled, but with God, the thing about God is, like, when you say everything works together for the good of them that love God and are called according to His purpose, I know for a fact that, like, it was connected to His purpose over my life.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it didn't happen career-wise in a way that I wanted to. Who knows? Maybe if I stayed in Ontario, because I was in a track, I was doing like a medical program. And I was doing, again, to be on these lists, to be a mentor. I was doing well, of course. And I see the people that, like, I had this friend, she's from the Caribbean, from St. Martin. And both of us were doing the same program. Like, we're in the same class, doing so well. And I see that she's a doctor now. So I look at her life and I'm like, I wonder, like, it's like, yeah, like, who knows? Again, of course, we don't have the same experience because this is me with my Nigerian passport and she has her Dutch and the same passport. So we not really have the same experience exactly. But then I'm just like seeing her succeed so well in the career that she's doing. It makes me wonder, I would wonder. Sometimes I think about it, if I was in Ontario, would I be married by now? Like, things like, so all these things are questions, they come. But then I remember that God's plans, the expectations, he's not his intention to, they're not for evil.
They're for good, to give an unexpected end.
Unexpected end. And I think more than anything, that's what I allow myself to, I really lean into God's word. That's how I encourage myself. And David encouraged himself. That's how I do. I'm like, you know what? Today it may not be the way you would have planned it to go, but somehow here you are,
And I'm sure that at the end of the story, your story, you look back and say, everything has come together full circle.
Full circle. And that's the beauty of life. And the truth is, like, even having to explain it to my friends, because I still had my clothes there. They had to move my stuff to the house that we got. And the funny thing is, I had a friend who, I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't really talk as much anymore, but she said something. She was like, Chidera, I feel like the 1 year you came to Windsor, you came for me. Like, and that's how I see it. Like, it's just like, at the end of the day, I may not have been there for the 4 years, but in that 1 year, it's like God used me to be the epicenter for all these friendships to form surrounding. And it was always my room they met because I didn't have a roommate. So it was always my room, everyone met. And we talk, and that's how we got to know each other. And friendships and even some relationships even have blossomed from that. And this one friend, I remember she used to be alone. And like, she said, me coming and introducing her to all these other people and then leaving. It's like, I've done it's like, I came and I was like, I've done the work that God wanted me to do and now I'm out. Kind of thing. And that's what and I choose to like find respite and peace in that. Like, okay, at least I wasn't there in vain, like I really came and did God's work and I left. I made an impact in the small time that I was there and I left. So yeah, that was pretty much it. So first year, that was it. And then I tried to move into University of Manitoba. They telling me that they couldn't transfer my credits. I'm like, God forbid. All these my good credits are my these list credits. So that was another like battle. I won't lie, like University of Manitoba was not easy. Like it wasn't an easy. First of all, with Windsor, I had my spot in the library. I was doing really well. I'm like, that move kind of affected me academically. Because now I'm kind of struggling. Sometimes, like for the first time ever, I had a VW, and the VW is a voluntary withdrawal where you can't finish your course. The way it was going, I was like, I'm not going to do well on this course. I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to drop it. And
why do you think you struggle so much?
Culture shock, and I had a system in Windsor. I didn't have that anymore. Now in Manitoba, I'm living with my brother. I have to be a sister now. I have to worry about, okay, what I'm going to eat. I love my brother to death. Like, I loved the fact that I was able to take care of him and take care of the family and our household and everything. But it's like I had more responsibilities that I wasn't, I guess, technically, if you're in school, you shouldn't have to worry about all those things. You know, you just focus in school. You know, when I was in the University of Windsor, it was just, I didn't have to worry about having to find work. You know, now I have to find work. I have to work and go to school. So all these things kind of like affected. It's not like I failed drastically, but the grace of God, I was able to kind of regain. It felt like full circle because I graduated with Dean's List. I kind of lost it a bit, but when in my last semester, I was able to be on the Dean's List again. So I was like, okay, I still had it in me. Thank you, Jesus. You know, but it was really hard where even in the library, when I wanted to go study, there's no place to study. It's like everywhere is filled. It's like, and I'm just like, I'll just go home. I'll go home and study. By the time I go home, let me just eat jollof fries and chicken, just sleep. Let me just nap. By the time you wake up, it's 10 p.m. in the night. And so it's like things like that. So my life was shaken a bit. So all my systems were broken and just they crashed. So I had to kind of like build again, like, what do I do? Chida, you need to do well in school, you know, you're still this person, you know, you still that Ogweri, you know, taking it back to my dad, said, remember who you are. And so it's trying to really, really learn myself. Now I'm in this new environment. I feel like it was worse moving from Windsor to Manitoba than moving from Nigeria to Canada.
I'm going to draw a parallel.
Yeah.
Right. You moved from Nigeria to Windsor.
Yeah.
It's easier. You're younger.
Yeah.
Your mom was with you.
Yeah.
Now you move from Windsor to
Manitoba. Yeah.
Struggle. Somebody may say, okay, it's not like Nigeria. It's not from Nigeria, but it's still a migration of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It was easier to adjust as a child immigrant compared to an adult immigrant.
Probably. Yes, you're right. Definitely. I didn't see it that way. But I think it's because as an adult, you're already set in stone. You have your system set in stone. This is who you are. There's no clearly, as a child, you're malleable. You're able to change and adapt more easily. As an adult, I like my sound this way, please. Don't touch my sound. I don't like it at that point. And also with my brother, so we haven't lived with each other for years. So we're now learning each other as adults now.
At that time, how old were you?
This is like 18 now. Like I'm like this point, I'm an adult in the eyes of the law, right? So it's like that's why you die, of course. You're still a child at 18. Yeah. But like when you think about it, it's like in Windsor, I was by myself. I had systems. I'll come home after classes and my lab. I'm going straight to my dorm. So to him, he felt like he had to, he has to be a big brother. Yeah. Which makes sense. I like that's my brother. My brother is very passionate about his family. Like he goes in to protect and love, and I love that for him. I feel so safe every time I'm with him. I tell him all the time, like anytime my brother, like big bro is here, like I'm okay. So like it was just hard having to now have authority over you. Where before, if I wanted to go out with my friends, I could just go out. But now it's like I have somebody to report to. So things like that as an adult is harder. As a kid, maybe it would have been easier for me to just be like, okay, I've come and I'm living with my brother. But now this is like adults to adults. We fought a lot. Like, don't talk to me anyhow. So yes, the parallels you drew were absolutely right. I think the difference was now I'm older. And so it's not as easy anymore to adapt to a different new environment, especially when it came to school. And I mean, I was still part of the worship team. I won't lie, I grew a lot spiritually. Like I grew a lot. Like I say, fighting battles, warfare. And it felt like, the move felt wrong at first because you could just tell, when you do something and all of a sudden there's all these attacks. You're like, I was fighting wisdom. Why is all of a sudden like my life has turned topsy-turvy? Like everything is scattered. So I think that for sure was really hard. It was really hard for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at the education system, I know it's something that a lot of immigrants struggle with. I think the education system in Canada is flexible a lot. But you who has experienced it,
different
from high
school, different versions,
What have you got to say about the system? Because I know that they learn a lot through play. But then somebody also says that, well, they're the ones inventing things. So,
that's true.
You have gone through it. What do you think about the education system?
Oh, it's very serious. Like they really teach you a lot. This is like compared to what you learn from Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. I did school there. Things I learned in Nigeria, it felt like, okay, I was learning to pass an exam. But here, it's like I can still quote things. I can still remember classes that I had in like school. This is like over 10 years ago. So it's like, it's because the way it was taught that it becomes a part of your life, as opposed to just like, okay, sit down and write this exam and pass, right? And to a degree, I knew how to pass an exam. I was doing really well once in Nigeria in school. And then coming here as well, having to now adapt to that system, it was hard. For the first time in my life, I failed, man. And it wasn't even necessarily a fail, man. It was like a 66, which some people would call a pass. To me, that was failure. It's like, Jesus Christ, I failed my faculty. It was chemistry. I was like, of all things, chemistry. So it really sucked. I had to like buckle up. I like my second semester. And that's the thing I learned. It was a culture shock in the way they taught to what I knew. So having to learn, okay, this is how they set exams. This is how they want you to answer. Things like that. So you kind of you unlearn what you know and then you relearn, as long as you're open-minded, for sure. So don't come with the mentality of like, oh, I did well, but you have to be open-minded and let your professors and teachers know you. That was the one thing that helped me. Ask questions, man. Be the person that be like, I don't understand this, sir. Be the one to wait after school. That's how I went through university. Be the one to wait after school or after class to be like, sir, can you explain this a bit further to me, please? Or go for the office hours to go speak to professors. Those are the ways where they know you. When they see your name, like, oh, I know this person. Even if maybe you don't really get the answer, I'm like, I can see she was trying. She understood the concept. And then you pass. Like, literally, it's about who you know. I'm 100% sure that maybe some courses that, like, I was meant to, like, maybe I didn't do so as well, I probably would have done more, because I'm like, there's an exam that I wrote that I knew for a fact that I should have gotten at least a 90% on that. And then I saw my score B+. I'm like, God forbid. Something happened. This person was drunk when they marked my score. But I know university is not necessarily about, oh, you're so smart, you need to have your professors know you. I think that for sure will help. So it's not the same. Yeah, with Africa, I won't lie. With Nigeria, things, yeah, especially the experience I've heard from like friends or classmates who are still living in Nigeria. When even the movies you watch of how like lecturers treat their students,
there's no relationship.
And if it's relationship, they want you to
do something extra.
Yeah.
You find few, lecturers who are really, really good,
yes,
who are trying their best, but then most of the time,
yeah, it's never the same. And the crazy thing, because my dad was a professor, like he was a teacher in university. So I kind of like know what it's like. Sometimes even just the experience is like night and day, right? You learn here to really be part. Okay, how can this be applied? It's more learning to be applied knowledge as opposed to just learning to pass an exam. It's more standardized, I would say.
So do you think it's worth it if you are bringing your child to study
yes.
in
Before you finish your question, yes. And it's not a hard work. We're so used to every period you have a class.
Yes, and you're studying.
Yes. It's not this one. You learn balance, because again, you don't want to create children who don't have a social life, because it's not great at all. Let your child be well-rounded and well-balanced. I think that's what Canada has that I think Africa we need to do better.
Having the both of, and that's what exposure is also about. Like we are here, but we have the advantage of being exposed to Africa. We get to
working hard.
And, all that. So you blend both and then you become, an amazing person.
That's true.
How was it like for you getting into corporate, getting into work, after school? Do you think like going to school here helped you to get into the working environment easier than somebody who just comes in?
That's a good question. Honestly, to quote my brother, school is a scam. I'm just kidding. I know it's so crazy because we just how good
it's.
I'm sorry. Honestly, and the truth is not necessarily a scam. School is absolutely, education is so important. Like, you learn so much. But for me personally, of course, I wanted to be all my life. The only thing I knew to be and I wanted to be was a doctor. That was the only. So when my my grades were not like really up to par again to where I was headed, it kind of like not really derailed me, because to be honest, there's still opportunity there. But now it's a thing where I won't say it's a bad thing, because it allowed me to explore more, to be like, okay, I have other interests. I have other things that I love to do. I'm very creative in a sense. Like I do music, I even have like a media company where I write scripts and we do short films and so on. So there's other things that I can express myself to. And the truth is, the reason why I wanted to be a doctor was just because in general, I like serving people. I like to help people. So I think that is now realizing, okay, why did you really sitting down and introspecting? Why did I want to be a doctor? Why did it have to be doctor specifically? And I think it's because that was all I was limited to know. But now that I've come to Canada, my mind has been expanded to know that, okay, there's much more that I can do.
It's because Canada has more opportunities.
More opportunities, yes. And the world is your oyster. You can be anything you want to be. If they told me when I was younger that I was going to be a business person, I would have said, in Jesus' name, I rebuke you. Because business, why? I'd seen what business, my mom is. Buying and selling. Why am I buying and selling, please? So like, I have to force you to buy. Don't buy now. It's your my business. But that was my thought. I've seen my mom do. My mom's an amazing businesswoman. Like, I've seen her do laundry business, and she was so great at everything that she did. But I'd also seen the struggle as well. So I didn't want to really align with that, but here we are.
Here you are.
Like,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think more than anything, for me, it's going into the corporate space was not really something that had to do with my schooling. It was just whatever I could find.
Okay.
Just anything that could pay bills, which sucks. I have so many regrets, because if I really put my head down to be like, okay, I need to find something that's related to what I'm doing. Like, also one thing I would say that would have helped is doing co-op in school. So co-op is this like option for university where you can work, kind of do an internship. So it's like 5 years while others are 4 years, because you have like an extra year to do an internship between, I think, your second and third year, and then you come back and finish school. So that would have helped, because that would have put me in a space where, okay, I have this experience in my, as opposed to just doing customer service or social work that everybody is kind of plagued to do, I would say, because people are like, you can't go beyond this. So people are also listening to negativity. People tell you, they kind of like come and put you in a box. They put the box over your head. You have to be the one to remove it and be like, nah. Like,
that comes from the Nigerian culture, or the immigrant culture.
Immigrant culture. Like, you can't go past this. Like, that's the and truth is not trying to shade or say that they did it intentionally. Some people, it's what they know too. That's what they were told. So they will tell other people as well. It's kind of like how Moon tells by the firewood. When we gather around the fire to tell stories, and stories are being passed on from generation to, that's what we tell anybody that's new. Like, I have this job. I can find you a job. It's customer service. It's always very easy to get in there. But then if you don't come with the mindset and be like, nah, I want to be a prime minister. That was my goal, and that's what I'm working for. And guess what? If you're so fixated on that goal, you start to surround yourself and you forcibly surround yourself with people that can push you. You get there.
I don't know whether it's shocking to me, because I thought that was something that was limited to people like us who are moving in as adults. I didn't realize that even as people who came in younger, who even went to the system, still have that. It's a limiting belief.
It is a very limiting belief, and also who you surround yourself by. If, let's say, and I think that's one of my biggest regrets for university, because one advantage you have as someone who goes to university here is your advantage of networking. You get to network with people who could be CEOs, network people, and also choosing the right courses as well and the right programs. Then you're not really knowledgeable. Diversify your network, because one, that's how you get, maybe you have this group telling you that you can't do it, but this one group is telling you, girl, you could be a millionaire right now because of what you have. And the truth is, you have treasure in you. It's all about where you find yourself. They're the ones that are able to dust it. Some people will throw it with the trash. Some people will dust it and be like, listen, there's gold underneath. And I think it's all about your environment as well. So for me, I won't lie, the environment part really affected me, because I heard that too. You know, when you're following the crowd, everybody's going for customer service because that's what you just find something that will put food on your table. And again, I'm not saying they didn't have good intentions. They probably did, because it's what they were told. But sometimes at some point you have to be the one to break out of the mold, to be like, nah, I need to find something better for myself. If I really sat down and said, okay, you know what can I do with my biology degree? What are the things that I would need this for? Because I have lab experience and all these things, right? Maybe if I worked...
Research assistant.
Exactly. There's so many things I could have done as opposed to doing customer service. And there are people that have done it. There are people that have done opposite of what I did. And they're working in STEM right now, like working in research, like you said. and they have the same biology degree as me. So it's just about what people are telling you. What are you allowing into your ears and into your heart and accepting, for sure. So that would be one of my biggest regrets, and that's one lesson I can teach people. Don't do what I did. Like, just figure it out, find out for yourself, ask questions for yourself, go to people. Hey, are you looking for, they'll tell you all the time, go meet professors. Are you looking for a TA? Are you looking for a research assistant? I'd love to work with you. They'll tell you to write your resume and stuff like that. Those are opportunities that are priceless, for sure, especially in the science. Of course, this is specific to the scientific field, right?
It's amazing. I have a science background. I mean, when you're saying I can't, like, it's deep for me, because I mean, even for me as somebody who has a science background, coming from Ghana, you know, and knowing people who moved from Ghana or Nigeria and came in, you know, to do their masters or their PhDs, we knew all these opportunities, we knew all this, and then you hear like you were limited because of the environment. So it's like really,
it's shocking, right?
It's shocking, and it's also speaking to me how much of an influence your environments can have on you, no matter how
where you are,
much opportunities
where you
have.
go. Yeah, that's true.
So the opportunities could be there, but because people who are around you are limited in their experience, in their ability to see.
And you, before you know it, you're not, like, it's not something that you're aware, and I wasn't curious enough. I think for me, I came in with that sharp. Remember at the beginning, I told you curiosity, and then I kind of lost it along the way because it was watered down because it felt like I was in Nigeria, but I was still in Canada. And again, nothing to my Nigerian people that I was surrounded by. I'm blessed by the people I was surrounded by. But of course, these people were not going in the same direction as me. There was not really anyone that could be a mentor to me, to be like, hey, I know they're telling you this, but this. Again, because these people have been told this, and because of what they've been told, this is where they're at. And so if I had someone who, let's say, was a doctor herself, or a man who was a doctor who says, I want to mentor you there, I would have flourished, because it's like, okay, you have someone who can direct you, study like this, do this internship here. They can open doors for you. So I would recommend, the mentorship is so important. Look for mentors. That's one thing that I find that I should have done, is to find mentors, actively seek them out. Like, hey, I want to be under you. What can I do to get an opportunity to work with you? Of course, now I'm an adult, I know. But of course, then as a kid, I didn't really know what it was like, as opposed to just generally just waking up in the morning, going to work here and there. I was a hard worker. I'm still a hard worker. I give 110% in everything I'm doing. But then it's because I'm in the ground. Think about the scripture, the part of the scripture that says, when you throw the seed, some seeds were thrown into soils that they grew, but they were choked because there was not the best soil. The only place you can truly flourish is when you're in the right soil for you. And the truth is, that was my issue. Like, I wasn't in the perfect soil for me, and that's why I think maybe if I was in Windsor, you know, like, I would have been around the right people that would have been like, okay, you know what? Yes, medically, you want to do medicine, you want to do, go to medical school. This is what you need to do. These are the steps you need to take. And so those are some of the regrets. But again, I hold on to the fact that everything works
every
together.
Experience is good.
Absolutely.
It shapes who you are. So based on that, what are you doing differently now? No, because I mean, we talk so much about environment. Right? And we still have, you know, by God's grace, life ahead of us. So how are you changing the future by the choices you are making now?
Oh my gosh, I am focusing. I'm shutting down noise, like, completely. If I want to do something and like something's in my heart, like, not my business, I know how far I want my business to get. Like, I know the goals that we've set, and the Bible says, as far as your eyes can see it, you know, that's what God told Moses, and he will give it to you. So I visualize and I see where I'm going, and I say it all the time to the people around me, like, yo, it's coming. I know it's coming. So if I sense negativity, I just say, like, a disturbance in the peace around me. I'm just like, the way I'm at, I just carry my bag. I just be like, yeah, this is not where I'm meant to be. But thankfully, I'm blessed with a family. Right now, I surround myself with a very tight knit. And the one thing I've learned as well is not talking about my dreams. Those dreams that I have, just keep it in your heart. Write them down. Make it plain, you know. But don't talk about it, because the truth is, whether we like it or not, there's always a tendency for people to look down on your dreams. If I come to them and tell somebody, like, man, I'm going to be the Prime Minister of Canada, they'll be like, Like, how dare you? Like, who are you
to dream?
Who are you to dream? How dare you dream? And that's the thing. That's what I've learned growing up now. Like, keep it to yourself. Let God speak to God. Like my sister says all the time, I talk to myself a lot. She's like, at this point, she has accepted it. Before you thought my sister was crazy, but now like I have conversations with myself a lot. And when it's like, and it's for me, I'm not just talking to him, I'm talking to the Holy Spirit. Like, I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then I'm hearing conversations back. Like Holy Spirit's talking to me back. Like we're kind of like going through brainstorming together. This is what we need to do. This is where we need to go. So for sure, I keep the dreams until I've established it, until I've gotten to that place. You will not hear about it. And that's fine. And it's not because I don't trust you with it most of the times. It's just about, it's too big for you to understand, and that's okay, because it's big for even me to get. Like sometimes I'm talking, I'm just like, yay! I'm like, maybe, like, you know, sometimes you need to really double down. If God said it, He will do it.
Yeah.
It's really that. So what I'm doing right now is that for sure. Not really talking prematurely about my plans and my dreams. And to seeking out, like you said, mentorship as well, and being open to it. I'm very much open to collaboration and learning. I think every day I'm in a state like, what is one thing that I can learn that I didn't know yesterday, that I can learn today? Because knowledge is power.
How has growing up in Nigeria and then living in Canada shaped you as a person? Do you think you're different as opposed to if you have just lived in one place?
I would generally say that I'm a better person, generally, personality wise, in terms of like, I guess the way I relate to people, the way I'm more sympathetic to other people's struggles, because I've lived in different places. I'm able to also adapt and become friends, or I'm friendlier in a way where I'm able to like, kind of like, I don't know how to put it the best way. I'm able to, I guess, I'm able to form friends faster because I've probably met someone where you've lived before, and I know cultures that relate to your cultures. When somebody does something, it's not weird to me. And I'm also very curious. It has also increased my curiosity to what other people are doing. So it's definitely always better. The experience is better compared to just living in one place, because you're more well-rounded person, if that makes sense.
So what's your favorite quote? That's what I end with. So share a favorite quote with us.
Favorite quotes. Scripture, Matthew 6:35. Don't worry about tomorrow. Focus on what God is doing today. Today has enough problems of its own. That would be my scripture. That's my anchor word when things get tough, or just in general life, you know. The whole Matthew 6 is great, but that's the final verse. That's the one that I really speaks to me the most. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Thanks for doing
this. Thank you so much. And guys, like, this is amazing. Sandra, thank you. Actually, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this conversation as much as I thought. No, I knew I was going to enjoy it, but not as much as I was like there. I'm like, wow, damn, I have history.
I made you dig up.
Yes, you did make me. Your questions were really well thought out and intentional, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Subscribe to Sandy Paydu.